I pulled into the driveway expecting to grab the last box and leave quietly. Instead, I found a full-blown celebration. A giant red vinyl banner stretched across the garage door in bold block letters. Goodbye, Freeloader. Don't come back. The grill was smoking. Country music blasted from a speaker. Neighbors and relatives filled the backyard like it was the 4th of July. Laughter rolled across the lawn. Someone had even set up a folding table with paper plates and cheap beer. From the patio, my Uncle Dean's drunk voice carried over the music. 30 years old, and still living off her daddy. Time to grow up, sweetheart. Another voice shouted, "There's your last free meal, loser." A hot dog flew through the air and smacked against the side of my car, leaving a greasy streak. Kids pointed and laughed. I stood beside my car, keys digging into my palm, and felt something inside me go very still. Nobody there thought they were being cruel. That was the worst part. They had told this story so many times that I was lazy, useless, drifting through life on my parents' dime, that they genuinely believed it. The banner wasn't a joke to them. It was justice. I didn't cry. I didn't argue. I walked straight into the house, picked up the last banker's box from the laundry room, and carried it back out. My father stood by the grill in his boss of the grill apron, smirking like he was proud of himself. He saw me taking a photo of the banner with everyone grinning underneath it and raised his beer can. "Taking a souvenir?" he called out. "Good. Something to remember us by." I looked at him for one long second, then got in my car and drove away without saying a single word. 2 weeks later, my phone started lighting up with messages I never expected. "Talk now. Please call me back. I'm begging you. Before I tell you what happened next, tell me, what time is it where you are right now, and where are you watching from? I'm curious to see how far this story travels." The drive away from that house felt lighter than I expected. The Texas sun was setting behind me, painting the highway in soft oranges and pinks. I kept the windows down, letting the warm wind rush through the car. No tears came. No screaming. Just a deep, steady quiet that settled into my bones. I had already signed the lease on a small one-bedroom apartment on the north side of Austin. Nothing luxurious, but it was clean, quiet, and entirely mine. The first night I slept there, I lay on the bare mattress listening to the distant hum of the city and realized I hadn't experienced real silence in years. The next morning I called Dr. Lena Morales, my longtime mentor and a brilliant architect who had become one of the few people I trusted completely. "You sound different," she said right away. "What happened?" I told her everything. The banner, the laughter, the hot dog hitting my car, the way my father smirked like he was doing me a favor. When I finished, she was quiet for a moment. "So they threw a party to celebrate getting rid of you," she said. "They have no idea what they just lost." That afternoon, I met Mrs. Doris Whitaker, a retired accountant in her late 60s who owned a small, peaceful guest house shaded by live oaks. She showed me the simple studio above her garage. "I don't tolerate drama," she said plainly. "Pay on time. Keep things quiet after 9. That's all I ask." The space smelled of cedar and fresh air. It felt like the first real breath I had taken in a long time. I moved in over the next few days in small, careful loads so no one would notice how much I was actually taking. The first messages from home arrived on day 3. "Dad, you left some stuff. Come get it before I throw it out. Kelsey." Dad is furious. "What did you do?" "Uncle Dean, call your father. Things are getting messy." I took screenshots of every one and saved them in a new folder titled "When the Mask Slips." I didn't reply to any of them. Instead, I focused on my own work. The freelance contracts I had been quietly building for years started paying more steadily now that I wasn't constantly putting out fires for my father's company. I reorganized vendor systems, cleaned up bid packages, and helped a small construction firm win a contract they would have lost without my help. Dr. Lena called again a few days later. "You're breathing easier already," she observed. "That's what freedom sounds like." Evenings at Mrs. Whitaker's place were peaceful. I cooked simple meals and ate on the small deck, while she sometimes sat on her own porch with a book. She never pried, but one evening she brought over fresh lemonade. "Family trouble?" she asked casually. "Something like that." She nodded once. Numbers don't lie. People do. Keep good records. That's the only real armor you need. Her words stayed with me. The messages from home kept coming, but the tone slowly changed, from smugness to irritation, then to something sharper and more desperate. Dad, the supplier account is locked. Fix it. Kelsey, Dad says you're being dramatic. Just log in and help already. Uncle Dean, we need the billing portal password. This is serious. I saved every message. By the end of the second week, the first real cracks were showing. A major client emailed my father directly complaining about a delayed bid. Another supplier moved the company to cash-only terms after a payment bounced. The workshop utility bill arrived with a late fee and a shut-off warning. Still, I didn't answer. Instead, I opened the detailed spreadsheet I had been maintaining for years in secret. Every emergency payment I had covered. Every vendor negotiation I had handled. Every bid I had rewritten so it didn't sound unprofessional. Every time I had quietly transferred money so payroll didn't miss a beat. The total was staggering. I printed a clean copy and placed it in a folder. For the first time in years, the invisible weight I had been carrying, the midnight fixes, the quiet cash infusions, the constant buffering between chaos and collapse, began to lift from my shoulders. They had thrown a party to celebrate kicking out the freeloader. They were about to learn exactly who had been keeping their world from falling apart. The days settled into a rhythm that felt both new and deeply necessary. I woke early, drove to the small co-working space I had joined, and lost myself in the contracts that were finally mine alone. No more rushing to fix my father's sloppy bids. No more quietly covering shortfalls so payroll didn't bounce. For the first time in years, my work belonged only to me. Dr. Lena Morales noticed the change during our weekly call. You're sharper, she said. Less weight on your shoulders. The work is flowing better. She was right. One of my long-term clients expanded their contract after I restructured their entire vendor system. Another referred me to a larger firm. Money was coming in steadily, not in panicked emergency bursts. Evenings at Mrs. Whitaker's guest house were quiet in the best way. I cooked simple dinners on the small stove and ate on the deck while the live oaks rustled overhead. Mrs. Whitaker sometimes sat on her porch with a book, offering nothing but calm presence. One evening she brought over a slice of lemon cake. Family still calling? She asked. Every day now, I said. She nodded. When people lose their hidden safety net, they usually panic before they reflect. The messages from home had grown more frequent and more frantic. Dad, the supplier is threatening to cut us off. Call me. Kelsey, Dad is losing it. Just help with the billing portal. Uncle Dean, we're behind on the van payment. This is serious, Ava. I saved every single one without replying. Through quiet neighborhood connections, Mrs. Whitaker mentioned she had heard my father's company was struggling. A supplier had placed them on cash-only terms. One client had pulled a project after repeated delays. The workshop utility bill had gone unpaid long enough that a shut-off notice was posted. I still didn't answer. Instead, I opened the detailed spreadsheet I had kept for years. Every emergency payment I had covered. Every bid I had rewritten at 2 a.m. so it didn't sound unprofessional. Every vendor negotiation I had handled so the company didn't lose accounts. Every time I had quietly transferred money so payroll cleared on time. The numbers were undeniable. I printed a clean, professional version and placed it in a folder. One evening my phone rang while I was reviewing a new contract. I let it go to voicemail, then played it on speaker. My father's voice filled the small studio, starting with forced calm before cracking into frustration. Ava, this has gone far enough. The insurance on the truck is about to lapse. One of the big clients is threatening to walk. Call me back so we can straighten this out. You're part of this family. I listened twice, not because it hurt, but because I needed to hear the entitlement beneath the anger. He didn't say he missed me. He said the machine was breaking without its invisible operator. I saved the recording and added it to the folder. At the co-working space the next day, Dr. Lena pulled me aside after a productive meeting. You're standing taller, she observed. Not physically. In here. She tapped her chest. This is your work now. Own it fully. That afternoon, I finalized paperwork for a new, larger contract. My name was listed clearly as the lead consultant. The quiet pride I felt wasn't loud or boastful. It was steady, like the systems I built that actually worked. Through Mrs. Whitaker's subtle local network, I learned the house was starting to feel the strain. My father was yelling more. Uncle Dean was missing shifts. Kelsey had apparently asked for money again and been turned down. The story they had told themselves, that I was the freeloader, was colliding hard with reality. I stopped replying entirely. One quiet evening I sat on the deck with my notebook and listed the invisible things I had carried for years. The midnight fixes, the emergency cash infusions, the emotional labor of never rocking the boat, the constant buffering between chaos and collapse. I had been the hidden infrastructure. Now the infrastructure was gone, and the structure was beginning to creak. The conflict wasn't loud shouting or dramatic scenes. It was the slow, steady realization that my absence hadn't broken the family. It had simply exposed what had always been there when I stopped holding it all together. And for the first time, I felt no urge to rush back and save them from the consequences of their own story. The knock came just after sunset, when the light over the live oaks had turned soft gold and the evening air carried the faint scent of creosote and distant rain. I was sitting on the small deck reviewing a new contract when the sound cut through the quiet, loud, impatient familiar. My shoulders tightened for a moment, that old reflex stirring, but I didn't freeze. I stood, walked down the steps, and opened the door. My father stood on the wooden path, face flushed, eyes tired, wearing the same work shirt he'd had on for days. Uncle Dean hovered a few steps behind him like backup that had already lost confidence. "Ava," my father said, voice rough. "We need to talk. This has gone far enough." I kept one hand on the doorframe. "We're talking now." He glanced past me into the simple studio, the clean desk, the stacks of neatly organized files, the quiet space that had nothing to do with his chaos. Something like disbelief crossed his face. "The supplier cut us off," he started, words tumbling out. "The insurance on the truck is lapsing. One of the big clients is threatening to pull the whole account. The workshop power is about to get shut off. Whatever you did, you need to fix it. Now." I listened without interrupting, the same steady way I used to catch problems before they became disasters. When he paused for breath, I spoke quietly. "I didn't do anything to you. I left because you threw a party to celebrate kicking me out. You hung a banner calling me a freeloader while your family laughed and threw food at my car. You humiliated me in front of neighbors and then expected me to keep carrying everything in silence." His jaw tightened. "That was just talk. Families say things. You're overreacting." "Overreacting," I repeated calmly. "You celebrated my eviction like it was a holiday. Now the machine is breaking because the person who kept it running is gone." Uncle Dean shifted uncomfortably. "Come on, Ava. We were drinking. It got out of hand." I looked at him. "You didn't apologize when you sobered up. You only showed up when the bills started bouncing." My father's face reddened. "Fine. If you helped more than we realized, okay? Lesson learned. Now log back into the accounts and straighten this out. We can talk about rent or whatever after things stabilize." There it was again, not remorse, not an apology for the public shame, just the expectation that I would step back into the role of invisible savior. I opened the door a little wider, but stayed in the doorway. "For 4 years, I kept your company alive. I fixed the bids, negotiated with suppliers, covered shortfalls, rewrote your emails so clients wouldn't laugh, paid emergency bills so payroll didn't miss, caught tax issues before the state froze the accounts. I did it quietly because I thought family meant something. And the whole time you called me a freeloader, you let everyone believe I was useless." His posture changed, not guilt, but risk assessment. "Families help each other. That doesn't mean you get to hold this over our heads." I reached inside and picked up the clean, professional folder I had prepared. I slid it across to him. "This is the difference between your story and mine." He opened it like it might bite him. His eyes scanned the first page. The timeline, the categorized expenses, the screenshots of texts and voicemails where he had asked me to just handle this one thing, the conservative estimate of my unpaid labor. The total was impossible to ignore. Uncle Dean leaned over and went pale. My father flipped a page too hard. This is exaggerated. You're inflating everything. Am I? I asked. Every line is documented. Dates, amounts, screenshots. The vendor deposits I covered so projects didn't die. The insurance payments I made when you forgot. The bid packages I rewrote at 2 a.m. so you didn't lose clients. The money I transferred so payroll cleared. He stared at the final page, the photo of the red banner hanging over the garage while everyone laughed underneath it. His voice dropped. You kept all this for leverage? No, I said. I kept it because I knew you would pretend none of it happened. You wanted an audience when you threw me out. You can have one when you see what I was actually doing. Uncle Dean rubbed his face. So what now? What do you want? Nothing, I said. That's what you still don't understand. I already paid. I'm just done paying. My father's jaw clenched. You can't walk away and let everything collapse over hurt feelings. I'm not letting anything collapse, I replied calmly. I'm no longer preventing the collapse you built. There's a difference. He tried one last time, voice turning softer. We're family. Your mother wouldn't want this. I looked at him steadily. Mom wouldn't have wanted you to humiliate her daughter in public while living off her labor either. The silence stretched. Mrs. Whitaker's porch light clicked on behind him. Quiet support without words. I stepped back. I've given you resources, a list of bookkeepers, tax services, utility assistants. That's all I'm offering. Future contacts should be respectful and personal only, not business, not demands. My father looked at the folder like it had betrayed him. So that's it. That's it, I said. I closed the door gently. Inside, I leaned against it and let the adrenaline pass in slow waves. The local business and construction expo was held in a large convention hall downtown. Booths lined the aisles, and the air buzzed with conversations between contractors, suppliers, and small business owners. My freelance consulting work had earned me a small speaking slot on streamlining operations for construction firms. I almost declined the invitation when I learned my father's company had a booth at the same event. Then I remembered the red banner and decided I was done hiding. I wore a simple black blazer over a white shirt, my company badge clipped neatly. For the first hour, I moved through the crowd with quiet focus, answering questions about bid systems, vendor management, and preventing cash flow disasters. I was good at this. Useful in ways that had nothing to do with being anyone's emotional support or unpaid fixer. Around midday, I saw them across the main floor. My father stood at a small booth with faded signage for Bennett Construction Supply, looking exhausted. Uncle Dean hovered nearby, shifting uncomfortably. Kelsey was there too, checking her phone with a tense expression. They hadn't noticed me yet. Then a contractor I had helped win a major bid last month recognized me and waved me over. Maya Ellison, the woman who saved our proposal. Your systems work. We're already seeing better margins. Others joined. A panel moderator introduced me loudly enough for nearby booths to hear. Maya has helped multiple firms clean up their operations and avoid costly mistakes. She's one of the best in the region. The air changed. I wasn't the freeloader daughter anymore. I was the operations consultant whose work actually delivered results. Public confidence spoke louder than any backyard banner ever could. My father noticed first. His face went pale, then tight. Dean stopped mid-sentence. Kelsey stared openly. They exchanged glances before my father approached, moving like every step cost him something. Maya, he said quietly, glancing around. Can we talk? Somewhere private. I kept my hand steady on the tablet I was holding. We can talk here. He swallowed, eyes flicking to my badge and the small group of professionals nearby. Things have been difficult since you left. The company is struggling. Suppliers are cutting us off. Clients are walking. We're sorry about the party. It got out of hand. Dean joined him, looking rougher than before. Yeah, we didn't know how much you were actually doing. We overreacted. I let their words settle in the bright hall, surrounded by the normal sounds of the expo, conversations, booth demonstrations, distant laughter. No dramatic scene. No raised voices. Just the truth I had carried quietly for years. You threw a party to celebrate kicking me out, I said evenly. You hung a banner calling me a freeloader while your family laughed and threw food at my car. You humiliated me in public and then expected me to keep carrying your business in silence. That wasn't a mistake. That was you choosing your comfort over seeing me clearly. My father's eyes filled with something close to shame. We're family. Families make mistakes and move forward. Families don't celebrate throwing their daughter away while living off her labor, I replied. I kept your company alive for 4 years. I fixed what you broke, covered what you couldn't pay, and stayed quiet so you could feel like the boss. None of that mattered until it disappeared. I'm not coming back to the old role. I'm not fixing your image or your mistakes. What happened after I left isn't something I did to you. It's what was already there when I stopped holding everything together. Kelsey looked at the ground, shifting uncomfortably. We just want things to go back to normal. I shook my head slowly. Normal for you meant me staying invisible and useful. I'm not invisible anymore. Maybe one day we can talk. But it won't be because you need me to save the company or make the family look stable. It will be because you've learned to see and respect the woman I actually am, not the version you mocked at a party. The panel moderator called my name from the speaking area, needing help with setup. I turned back to my work without another word. They stood there a moment longer. My father's shoulders slumped, Dean staring at my badge like he was seeing me for the first time, Kelsey quiet and uncertain. Then they walked away, disappearing into the crowd. No big reunion. No tears that fixed everything. Just me choosing my own life in full view, while they finally understood they were no longer the center of it. Later, when the expo began to wind down and the hall lights brightened, I stood alone near the exit. The air felt lighter. I pulled out my phone and looked at the old folder with the banner photo and the saved messages. I opened the picture one last time, then deleted the entire folder. I didn't need the proof anymore. The consequences had already arrived in their own quiet way. My father was learning that pride without humility costs more than money. Kelsey was discovering that superiority built on someone else's silence eventually collapses. And they all now knew I existed as a complete person, not just the hidden support they had taken for granted. I locked my phone and walked back toward the team packing up materials. Mrs. Whitaker had texted earlier, simply saying she was proud of how far I had come. Dr. Lena gave me a quiet nod across the hall that said more than words ever could. That evening, back at the guest house, I sat on the deck with a cup of tea. The live oaks swayed gently in the evening breeze. For the first time since the party, the weight in my chest felt truly gone. I used to believe family love meant carrying them no matter what. Now I understood that love which only exists when you stay small and useful isn't love at all. If they could only value the version of me that fixed their problems in silence, then walking away had been the first honest thing I ever did for myself. Sometimes leaving the people who celebrate your humiliation is not betrayal. It is the beginning of building a life that no longer needs their approval.